So Phil, you were in court today and the day was taken up with the cross-examination of Cassie Ventura. Can you take us through what happened?
Absolutely, Fred. This was the first of 2 scheduled days of her cross-examination. So by the end of the week, it should more or less match the 2 days, close to 2 full days that the government had to get its side of the story. And boy, we're talking about diametrically opposed pictures. Now, often in a cross-examination, we hear the defense attorneys try to attack the credibility of the witness. We didn't really hear that today, but what we did hear was the defense trying to use her and even her credibility, her sincerity, the sympathy that the jurors might have for her to chip away at the government's main case, which is sex trafficking, using prostitutes across interstate lines and using his business in a racketeering conspiracy to enable all of this bad behavior. So first of all, let's start with the picture that Cassie created for the government. A violent, coercive, drugging, sex-based abuser was how they portrayed Sean Diddy Combs. Very different than what most people know of him as a music mogul, a rapper who's won Grammy Awards. But they tried to sort of, in my opinion, soften him up, even out the picture. The defense attorney referred to Combs as imperfections as she drew out Cassie to say some nice things about her ex-boyfriend, that he was exciting, entertaining, a fun guy, very sweet and attentive. She was in love with him. She liked his real personality. She never felt so loved and safe and empowered since they got together, some years ago. We're talking about 2007, and then they stayed together for a decade. So they drew on her memory, but also her texts and her emails over the years, which have all been recovered, where she said things like, "I can't express how grateful I am that you've chosen me to be part of her life," softening the image, a different picture than what the jury heard the first couple of days where she was on the stand.
And did they try to attack the points that she had said, or was it a more sympathetic approach that they took?
They didn't really attack her at all. They didn't really lay a glove on her at all. They tried to show, I think, the human side of Sean Combs, the flaws, and maybe even using the drugs that they used all the time, both of them, not just for these so-called freak-offs, these sort of crazy hours-long, days-long sex parties that they had with each other, with male escorts, sometimes female escorts, the romps that they called freak-offs that were fueled by ecstasy and cocaine and magic mushrooms, marijuana, ketamine. Not just that they partied, but what we really learned today was that the drug use by both of them, particularly Sean Combs, went way beyond these party nights, that he had an opioid painkiller addiction. And kind of a bit of breaking news that broke today in the trial was that he had an overdose. He suffered an overdose one night after he had a freak off. They went to a sex club, then they went to the famous Playboy Mansion, and then all of a sudden he's having an overdose from painkillers.
Let's just talk about the text messages that you just mentioned there. They were played in open court. What did they say and what was the reaction to those?
They went through them, and it seemed to me that this was a way of chipping away at the charges, particularly the charge that this was sex trafficking and that Cassie's victim number 1, as alleged in the indictment. The counter narrative, drawing on the text messages, having Cassie read them and the defense attorney read Sean Combs's parts, was to really pursue their main argument that whatever happened, even if we think it's disgusting or illicit, it was consensual. It was consenting sex between adults. And that's their main defense. So they showed many messages where Cassie is seen and heard arranging these freak-offs with Sean Combs. It sounded like the ones they cherry-picked, of course, that she was doing so enthusiastically. And we heard messages between 2009 and 2017 saying things like, "I love our FOs," meaning the freak-offs. And we also heard her say things like, "I can't wait, for tonight's whatever it was going to be." They're cherry picking to try to show it's consensual, but Cassie did get one little rebuttal in herself today as they went through all this. She said, "Look, it was a job," and that's how she saw it.
Sean Diddy Combs, of course, denies all of these charges and the allegations against him, was in court today. How did he seem as his ex-girlfriend was cross-examined?
You know, it's the defendant and the jury are very poker faced throughout all of this. I mean, but he's sitting there in the middle of his defense table. He's flanked by attorneys on both sides. There's a total of 9 people on his defense team. There's 6 on the prosecution team. He's a very stylish man, as we've discussed. That's his reputation. He's been allowed to bring 5 different suits to court, you know, for 5 days of the week. So he doesn't wear the same thing every day, but he hasn't worn a suit. He's dressed down. Today, he was wearing slacks and a sweater like the day before and the day before that and the day before that. Obviously, he can't dye his hair in jail where he's been held for 8 months, so he's kind of gray.
And we're expecting this cross-examination to finish tomorrow. What do you expect we'll hear?
Well, I think we'll hear more examples of where the defense feels it can use Cassie's own storytelling, Cassie's own paper trail, or digital trail, we should say, to chip away at this notion that she was trafficked, that she's just totally a victim. They're trying to show that she was an equal participant and planner in these freak-offs, these sexual romps that they had.